Kia ora team and welcome. I'm Reuben from Link Academy, and in this session we're talking about bank reconciliation method customer prepayment. So in this scenario, we have a customer who's perhaps giving us a deposit or a prepayment on some services we have yet to provide them. So let's take a look at how to do that. So in this scenario, we're talking about a customer who has paid us some funds into our bank account for an invoice we have yet to even generate because it's perhaps a deposit or an advance for some services we've yet to do. So we're going to click the Reconcile button, and I'll show you how to treat that. There we go. So here we've got $2,000 incoming from Jacaranda Maple Systems, and typically what I'd do, if it didn't say deposit or any other indication there, as always, I would find and match first to see if there's anything outstanding that we're expecting from them. So as you can see, there's nothing there, and given a bit of a clue by the bank reference there that this is a deposit. So I'm not going to be able to find and match this with anything. So here's what I want to do instead. I want to click on Create, and I'm going to click Add Details, like so. And what that's going to do for me is it's going to populate a manually created invoice, essentially. And here's the tricky bit, so pay attention. Where it says Received As, we don't want to receive this as a direct payment. Even though it is a direct payment, we actually want to identify that this here is a prepayment, okay? The difference there is that this is going to sit against Jacaranda in our accounts receivable, so we can see that they have in fact prepaid us. Great. So Jacaranda Maple Systems, the date is today. It's going to create a prepayment invoice number for us as part of our normal sequence. I can put any description I'd like in there. It's auto-populated it with the reference, but I could put in something like deposit project. This would be internal only. We're going to be invoicing them formally later when we get into the project. So my account, I'm going to put in something like revenue received in advance, and that doesn't bear GST because my invoice is going to be the one that bears the GST. So there's a few different ways of treating that. If you're at all confused, talk to your accountant about that. Excellent. My region, I'll put North. Actually, yeah, we go. North. Great, so that's creating my prepayment, all right? And so the tricky bit there is that we click that little button that says Add Details, and we want to mark Received As a prepayment. You notice it kind of changes color here. And you'll see when I click Save, you'll see the effect of this, because not only will it reconcile my incoming funds, so cool, that's all reconciled now. I'll click OK. But if we go into our accounts receivable now, under Accounts and Sales, like so. And we go into our awaiting payment invoices. Like this. We will see that Jacaranda Maple Systems has essentially an invoice sitting in there for them that has been paid but has nothing due. So, and it has a little PP, which stands for prepayment, and so that's a prepayment essentially sitting against their account. Excellent. So that's sitting in our accounts receivable there. Now I'll show you what to do to allocate this prepayment. So in the next sequence of events, so they've prepaid us, and then we've gone and perhaps delivered some services for them, and then delivered them an invoice. So let's go back in time, and we'll go to Sales. However we normally do that, Account Sales, New Invoice. We cover this in a separate session, so if this isn't something you've seen, then go and watch the How to Create an Invoice session. Here we go, cool. So I'm going to type in, this is us generating an invoice for the services we've rendered, Jacaranda. Excellent. My invoice date will be 30th of June. Due date will default for them, same day, should give them 7 days. Reference would be maybe the job number, JB, something like that, and it would be services as quoted, something one, and the total value would be $4,000. Excellent, that's going to sales like it always would, GST on that, and the region will be North. Great, cool, so you might not have that region obviously, but if whatever your equivalent might be. So I'm going to approve and send that, and here's where kind of a nifty little feature pops up. Here's what it says. It says, hey, you've approved this invoice for Jacaranda. Did you know that they have an open prepayment do you want to allocate this? And so this is your first instance to go, oh, that's right, I've already paid some of this. Do I want to match that up with this open invoice? Because a real good practice would be to not just send them an invoice for $4,000, that might confuse them. Send them an invoice for the $4,000, they're going to need that regardless, but accompany that with a statement that says $4,000 less the $2,000 that that you've prepaid. So we'll click allocate, and that would match this up. Now, failing that, let's imagine we skip. I'll show you how to manually allocate that, okay? So if we, there's a couple of different methods. Let's imagine we send that out and we go, that's right, we had a deposit from them. So what we can do is come into accounts and sales, and inside our awaiting payment here, this is method number one, we can either start from the prepayment and go, we might have multiple invoices for them. How do we want to break out that prepayment across the different invoices that they have for us, or allocate it to which one? So if I open up my prepayment, this is method number one of allocating a prepayment. Under prepayment options, we can click allocate credit, and that's going to give us the option of choosing how much of our $2,000 we assign to our open invoices. So if you had multiple there, you could go and split that prepayment out across the different invoices, and you can click allocate. So that's method number one. Method number two is just to start with the invoice. So if we head to sales, we have an open invoice here. We're going to open that up, and it doesn't have a payment applied against it, so let's go and see if there's an existing prepayment. So here you go, down here, that's what I was after. So down the bottom here, where it says Jacaranda Maple Systems has $2,000 in outstanding credit, so that's our prepayment. Do we want to apply that to this invoice? So you can credit this invoice. Now, I prefer the prior method where we start with the prepayment and choose which invoices to split it up against. This is kind of going backward, where we're saying this prepayment, how much do we want to give to this invoice? And if you had multiple invoices, this would be slower. So probably better to do the method number one, if at all. So, okay. Great, so now we've allocated our prepayment. Fantastic. If we head back to our accounts sales screen now, you will see that Jacaranda Maple Systems now only owes us $2,000. And if we go and prepared a statement for them, cool, print that out or email it ideally, but it would look something like this. Here we go. Cool, demo code, great. Invoice amount, payments, balance due. And we'll cover that in a bit more depth in the statement session. So what we covered there was what to do with a customer prepayment. So where a customer pays us in advance for some services we've yet to do. As you can see, it's really easy to reconcile that line item, but we also then went into how to allocate that prepayment. So hopefully you found that worthwhile, and I'll see you in the next session.